Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Leadership. My name is Kevin Britz, international leadership coach, trainer, and facilitator, and host to the Lunchtime series where we add value to people's lives happening every day on ebizradio.com. Naomi won't be joining us for today, but she will be here with us next week. Today we are chatting to CEO of Dentsu Sub-Saharan Africa. She has been responsible for the growth of the network, expanding the footprint in South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, just to say the least. And one recognizable leadership award for what she does. She's also a wife and a mother of two. Please welcome Dawn Rowlands. Hey, Dawn, how you doing?
Hi. I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and making some time to chat to me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I've heard really good things, so I was like, yeah, let's have this conversation. So Dawn, to kick it off, won't you tell us more about who you are, what it is you do, and more about Dentsu?
God, where do I start? Okay.
No pressure.
A little about me. I've been in the advertising and communications industry for over 25 years. And it's my first love, my last love. It captured my imagination at a very young age, and I've thoroughly enjoyed being in this industry. I think what I've liked most is just the ever-changing landscape, new things to learn, and the amazing creative intelligence and highly motivated people in the industry. So actually, it makes what I do really easy for me, I guess. I think one of the biggest challenges that we've really faced in our industry has been, diversity and inclusion, certainly from a South Africa perspective. But it's a huge global issue. And I think being a woman in this industry, certainly I'm not really what they kind of expected when I arrived in some of these countries. But I think that the world has changed so much in the last 10 years, actually, when you think about it, that people are, I think, embracing change more than they ever have before. And if I look at what we've built and how we've set out about that, bringing in very diverse people, really focusing on how we build a very inclusive business where anybody feels they have opportunity to grow and thrive. I think that 2020 was just basically a kind of like that year that kind of reinforced what we'd sort of been trying to achieve. Think about Black Lives Matter, and you just think about the huge diversity agenda globally. So a fantastic journey. And I mean, I think mostly I set out to achieve something that had never been built in our region for a communications agency. And I think we're probably about 60% of the way there. And I'm incredibly proud of the people that have joined us on this journey. Amazing, smart, and highly motivated people.
It's amazing. One of the things, it's part of my notes that I've made here to sort of get your insight. Growing a business to the capacity that you have done in the region that you have, I'm sure that the Black Lives Matter movement speaks to everything that you're wanting to achieve, but also being in the position that you're in as a leadership as a woman. How does that carry, or does it even carry, a stigma to a large degree still? Because as much as we have these movements like Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement, do you think it's it's still a strong conversation to have? Do you think that in 2021 we're finally getting to a point where we go, actually, who can get the job done is the most important thing?
So I think there are two elements to this. The first element is I don't really care about what people think, to be honest with you. And I just think, you know, stepping into something, doing it, you will always face adversity. And yes, there's different degrees of adversity. And I think that some people, you know, the level of adversity when they're starting out is probably, you know, more than I could possibly imagine, having come from a privileged background. But I think that I don't pay much attention to that. So I just think, well, it just might be a little bit harder for me, or a great deal harder for me to get my point across. It just means that I have to be smarter about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you don't achieve diversity and inclusion unless you have a plan and you stick to it and you measure yourself up against it, you are accountable for it, and you tell people about it and share your vision with them. Because otherwise it's just lip service. So this is you know, a massive thing. And actually, sorry, there is a third thing. And the third thing is because we are elevating people around us doesn't mean that other people are suffering. And I think this is a huge thing that people that come from a privileged background need to understand. You don't have to diminish yourself to actually grow, mentor, and see other people around you succeed. So it's you know, it's personally, I don't pay much attention to it. I hold myself accountable. I'm going to use my privilege to make sure I do the right thing. And lastly, you know, honestly, you have to be, you absolutely have to be able to tell people about it and show the results. You know, otherwise you're not going to be taken seriously.
Yeah. So, you know, having that sort of profound sort of foundation and that fundamental, what do you think a few of the core fundamentals are through really sticking to your guns and you know, achieving what it is you have? Because you know, often people will shy away from a bit of resistance or the backlash of something. And we've recently chatted to Mike Abel, also, I'm sure you know him. And he, you know, he also speaks quite firmly about his views and what he thinks and why it's important to have a voice. What is that for you in terms of core fundamentals that you think, especially in 2021? You know, 2020, as you said, had been such a nice reminder and reconsideration of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what's most effective, and how do we how do we ask the difficult questions and do stuff differently? But what is those core fundamentals that you think that drive success?
So I actually ask myself that question quite often, and mostly because I'm mentoring quite a few people, and they always ask me, you know, how do I succeed? How do I, you know? And I think, firstly, you have to be driven. If you are not prepared to sit and ask yourself those tough questions and give yourself honest answers, if you are not prepared to do that extra 20% and have a burning desire to do it, you won't succeed. It doesn't matter what you do in life, you know. Otherwise, and as far as I'm concerned, you're either just moaning or, you know, sharing. So, you know, do you really want to solve this problem? And everything in life is about a challenge and solving problems. Do you have the motivation to solve that problem? And can you convince other people around you to join you along that journey to solve that problem? If you don't have the motivation to get the people to join you, to actually define the problem clearly, and then to actually drive the action and follow up, or lastly, to change direction if actually that was the wrong direction, you will not succeed. You know, and I often see people going to entrepreneurship seminars. I've been an entrepreneur twice. I've built 2 businesses and sold 2 businesses. If you don't have that burning desire, you will not succeed. You know, people have fantastic ideas, but because they don't have that burning desire to see it through, it doesn't succeed. So having good ideas is one thing. Yeah, bring them to life is another.
And it sort of spurs the conversation, which I often share with on all the conversations I do have. There's a significant difference between knowledge and knowledge that is actioned. And I think a lot of people like to talk about stuff and what they dream of doing, and you go, okay, cool. So what does it behave like? What are you doing? How are you doing it? And then it's like, that's the differentiator, I think, tapping into that burning desire. But coming back to sort of leadership development, how important is that to you? And if so, why do you think it's important?
Well, I think that, you could, as a young, smart person, sit in a business and go, this is wrong, or that's wrong, or we should be doing this, or we should be doing that. And I think that's fantastic. So I think the first thing you need to do is, if you know there's something wrong that you could easily fix, step up, make yourself heard. Leaders don't know everything. Leaders are not perfect. And we certainly don't see everything. I think we have some instincts about where things potentially are wrong or things could change. But what we need is for people to step up. So that's, for me, a very important thing. I think in terms of growing people and mentoring people, I think there are two sides to this. The one side is, I'm happy to give my time as a mentor, and I will be honest with you, and I will coach you and try and drive you into a certain direction. But as the mentee, it is your responsibility to actually make sure that you take action, make the changes that you need to do to actually succeed. And I think this is probably one of the things that I've had to kind of make my peace with, that often the potential that you will, as a leader, see in people is not necessarily their burning desire, that, they are quite happy where they are, or, just at that point in their life don't have the time or the dedication or the energy to actually do what needs to be done to move to that next level. So I've kind of had to make my peace with that, because I do sometimes think that I'm more ambitious for people than they are for themselves. And that's been a little bit frustrating. But for the people who are honest and kind of talk about the kind of pace at which they'd like to change, really take it on. There's an unlimited amount of work you can do as a leader with a team of people. I think trust is incredibly important. So, you need people to trust you with their lives and their futures. And this is a kind of like it sometimes scares me a little bit, because I just think, so I suppose it's a bit like being a parent, you get this baby and you think, I'm really not prepared for this. But that trust is really important, and you build that over time. And, then, as I said, you have to like measure that kind of enthusiasm, certainly from my side, because sometimes people aren't ready to move at the same pace as you.
Yeah. I mean, and that just makes me think, one of the things that is so important, I think a lot of people being in the position you're in, don't realize how difficult showing up and challenging and creating what you do, how much effort and how much responsibility and work that takes. But not only being a businesswoman, but also being a mother. So, I mean, how do you do that? Because
can I ask you a question, Kevin? Do you ask men that you interview that being a businessman and being a father, how they manage?
No, and the reason why is because I think women have have a more difficult time with it. I think no, hang on. Let me rephrase it. Not more difficult time. I think women have far more responsibility, and they, mothers are. I always look at, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I think when I look at who's showing up in the world for her today, and I go, so who's out there and who inspires her, and shows her and is an example to the potential of what she could be, So I always look and, I always consider parenting one of the toughest things in the world, but invariably, it very often leans on the responsibility of a mother to be the solidarity of a family. So, I mean, is that the case, or do you think it's shifting?
Well, I think it's shifting, and I think COVID has certainly helped that, because I think there's a lot of men with kids running around in the background in meetings now. I think men are at home; they're having to share responsibility around schooling. And I think it's been a great equalizer, certainly globally. But I think that men should be more accountable for parenting, and I mean, I have a fantastic husband. I'm not going to lie. And I have two, amazing boys that keep me so on point, and they're so full of it. So I don't get away with anything, I have to say. But I do think that the world is changing, and I do think that there is a more combined level of responsibility between husbands and wives in terms of raising kids and this true partnership. So in terms of me being able to do what I need to do, I mean, my husband also is a business person, he's also independent. It takes a lot of really good planning, a great deal of partnership. And you have to be incredibly disciplined with your time. And I think, and also you have to realize that everything can't be perfect, and other people's expectations of, kind of you as a person, just have to kind of take a bit of a backseat if your kids and your business is your priority.
No, and that's why I think I posed this question, because I think it really speaks to having a great relationship, and it speaks to being able to have time management and really cultivate a partnership between you and the person you're with, to really get to a point where you go, well, for me to be who I need to be, this is part of what I need from you, and vice versa. And I think that speaks to really getting to being a mother, a businesswoman, a parent, and all of it. And I'm glad that you mentioned it that way, because just hearing it from you like that, it really does mean that people and corporate is changing in a big way.
I think, but I'd just like to elaborate a little bit on the comment you made with your daughter. And I do think it's very difficult for young women to find role models. So if you think about, some schools, teachers have been teaching there for 30 years. If you think about their parents, they might have elected to be, a housewife, or for various different reasons, they don't have a role model within their household. And I think that is a very real thing. I mean, I recently did a talk at a junior school. I spoke to some teachers, and some of these teachers had been, teaching for 30 to 40 years. They had no idea that you could build a livelihood and a very successful business out of creativity, and these are, or even technology for that matter. So these are the kind of challenges, or kind of social challenges, that we have, because, most women are not growing up with strong, thought-provoking mentors that are around them in certain areas of their lives.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, why, for me, I'm always in observation of that, because the fact that you mentioned, you don't pay attention to what other people say, you kind of head down and do what you're doing and wanting to achieve it. The diversity and inclusion, and the importance of, what that is to you, and little elements like that. I think that to me is like, I want to be able to share that, because I all the videos that we do, I share on a WhatsApp group, and she's on that WhatsApp group, and I was like, hey, did you check that video? You need to watch this video.
Yeah.
So she's exposed to that, and I think that's I wanted to be able to learn that.
Yeah, I think the relationship you have with your father is incredibly important. My father always taught me, well, he taught me two things. One, how to throw a punch. And secondly, three things. One, how to throw a punch. Two, how to change a tire.
Yeah.
And thirdly, to just go for it. Don't stand back.
Amazing.
And I think that is a big problem. Women, if you're thinking about a new role or something, women will spend a lot of time analyzing, can I really do this? Men will go into that meeting, huge amount of bravado. I can do it. I'll learn. And women need to learn that. They need to step up and be less afraid,
Yeah, one of the core competencies that we look at, from a coaching perspective, is especially when you come to confidence. Very often people put confidence outside of them, and they have an external sort of locus of control happening in their world, and going, oh, well, I'm confident if that happens, or if those things happen. And yet confidence is a state that you cultivate, and, I remember my daughter was 3 years old, and I asked her to look in the mirror, and I said to her, tell me quickly, who do you see? What do you see in the mirror? She's like, you and me, Dad. And I said, what is the most important thing you're seeing right now? And she kind of wondered, and she looked at me and she said, you are, Dad, you are the most important. And I said, no, look again. And then she kind of looked at it and she kind of went, me? And I said, yeah, you are the most important person in the world. And, you could see that she kind of took a while. But she's 13 already, and when we had that conversation, I'm like, babe, who's the most important person in the world? She's like, me, Dad. I'm like, yeah, just always know that it's an internalized cultivation. And, the moment you step into that space, rather, than waiting, like you're saying, pitching for something, or going to a new interview, or looking for a different position, step up into your empowered self, rather than rely on it from an external source.
I often find that I have to talk women into it, whereas men are just like, ready to go.
Yeah, I love that. So just last two questions for today, and then we're going to wrap it up. But what inspires you?
I think the energy and success of people around me, seeing people develop a new level of confidence, seeing them achieve things that they didn't think they could do. I think certainly ideas, visions, things that seemed so impossible inspire me. And I think mostly I love problems. I try and fall in love with them. I love a challenge. And the more difficult and the tougher, the better. And that inspires me. And then obviously the success that comes as you go along, that thing just gets me completely excited. And I also think travel and different perspectives and different cultures inspire me. It teaches you to look at things from a different perspective. Sometimes you think things are really important, and then you look at it from another angle and you think, that's actually quite interesting. Let go of that. It's actually not that important. Yeah. And I think working outside of South Africa has given me that, to meet such clever, incredibly talented people. There is so much talent and creativity in our region that only now globally is really getting the recognition that it deserves. I think it's incredibly inspiring. If you just look at the music and entertainment industry and the fashion industry, and what's happening in markets like Nigeria, even smaller markets like Tanzania. I mean, they just have the most incredible content producers. I think this is the most exciting place to work, because I think you can break rules, because actually there's no kind of systems here. And you can build that bicycle kind of while you're riding it. And I think that inspires me to actually create something that's new, and that the world looks at and says, wow, that was from Africa.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So last question to wrap up today's conversation, Dawn. It's been so much fun. What does the future hold for you and Dentu in 2021?
So I think that we've reached, if you think about the year 21, it's like it's the adult year. I think, last year certainly made everybody grow up quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it. Our business has gone through a very rigorous kind of transformation. I think that our teams have managed it incredibly well. We've actually grown our business last year during COVID, and I think that's largely just due to the tenaciousness and the kind of entrepreneurial spirit in this region. So I think we're going into 2021 feeling incredibly positive and feeling as though we could take on, kind of anything, like literally anything.
Yeah.
So I think positivity is probably the most important thing, and continued connection with people, because it's so easy, to drift off into a dark hole on your own and kind of turn out reports and do your job, but actually, remaining connected and feeding off people's energy, ideas, because it's very hard to have fantastic ideas all on your own. They're always better when you bounce them off other people and build on them. So I think keeping that connection alive, I think, is possibly going to be the most challenging, and certainly the thing that I'm going to be focusing on.
That's amazing. Dawn, thank you. We don't have a lot of time for our chats, but thank you for making some time for us today. It's such an awesome conversation, and thank you for the insights and the energy.
It's a pleasure. Very nice meeting you.